Way back in 2017, I made the bold move to leave my job as a primary school teacher to pursue my dream of setting up my very own e-commerce business with Amazon FBA. Now, in that very first year, I generated over 180K's worth of sales through that Amazon FBA store and over £65,000 in net profit. Now, I'm going to put a screenshot up of my submitted accounts for that year just for verification for you guys that what I'm saying is legit. Now, obviously those figures blew my mind, right? I was making 20K a year at the time through my teaching job, working long hours, and all of a sudden I was generating triple that from my laptop whilst being able to have a lot of flexibility with my time and a high degree of passivity attributed to that business model also. Now, to be honest, this blew my mind, and this is one of the reasons why I set up my YouTube channel on an absolute mission to share as much of my knowledge with you guys as possible. Now, over the last 5 or 6 years, I have mentored over 1,000 people, many of which have gone on to have Amazon businesses generating multiple 6 figures a year. Some of my students are generating millions of pounds through their store per year. We've had exits for 7 figures, exits for 6 figures, and it's been a pretty incredible journey. But looking back on that first year and really understanding from an audience point of view, the first year is definitely the hardest. Understanding product research, how to decipher the maze that is Amazon FBA product research, it is not easy. So I want to talk to you about what I would tell myself if I was starting back then, the 2017 version of me, how to get started the right way during the product research phase and during that first year, if I were to do it all over again. So let's begin. One of the hardest things from a beginner's point of view, from my understanding, is being able to recognize opportunity. And how do you recognize opportunity? Because ultimately, that is what we are looking for when we are trying to decide upon a product to sell on Amazon. And what falls under that umbrella of opportunity? Well, we're going to talk through that today. Now, there seems to be a lot of confusion, and people can get bogged down in statistics, in data, in numbers, and really not think about the broader picture. Ultimately, you've got sort of 2 ends of the spectrum, which will not work when you're looking for a product to sell on Amazon. And that is a product that is in high demand, but is massively overly saturated and very hard to launch into the niche. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, you've got a niche that may be far less saturated with many less sellers, but there's just no volume in sales and the demand isn't there. And what we're looking for is that sweet spot in the middle where we're able to identify a product that sits within a niche where there is demand for the product, but also it isn't oversaturated and there are improvements that can be made to the current existing products that are on Amazon for you to be able to launch successfully. Now, how is that done? It's easy to say those things, but how do you eliminate products from either side of that spectrum and just focus solely on that center part? Because that will save you tens of hours when you're conducting your product research. Now, I'm going to walk you through a tutorial of what I would do now if I was getting started and talk you through the product research phase and once you've launched, how to successfully manage your business and nurture it throughout that year for maximum results. So we're going to hop over into that demo now.
Right, guys, so one of the first things that I'm going to highlight to you, something I wish someone had slapped me across the face and told me to invest a lot of time into this particular area, and that would be utilizing the power of software, product research software that is available on the market today to help you, firstly, speed up product research, secondly, make it far more efficient, and thirdly, dramatically increase the chance of you making the right decision and picking the right product. I talked in the introduction about, understanding that sweet spot of demand. You're not going to be able to do that very well without software. Now, why didn't I use it as much as I should have back then? It wasn't as readily available back in 2017. These names were just coming onto the scene, Jungle Scout, Helium 10, and they didn't offer as much. Now they offer an unbelievable amount for very good value. You can try it out for free. So just quickly, you can head over to Helium 10, have a look at what they offer. I've got a discount link if you guys move forward and really start this journey, and you can save a few pounds on that through the link that's in the description. But first thing I would tell myself is not to ignore the data. So when we're looking at these products here, it's to really try to absorb and understand, educate yourself, not yourself, about what these numbers mean. We're able to identify here, is it just the big sellers, looking at review counts, that are generating the lion's share of the revenue? What you'll find with some niches is you can have some juggernauts, some big sellers in there that are generating a nice amount of revenue, but the market is definitely able to be penetrated by smaller sellers, which is demonstrated through other listings that are still performing well whilst having low reviews. Now, it's very hard to be able to establish this when you're just browsing Amazon. You need to be able to see it summarized in front of you, and you need to be able to do it quickly, because the faster you work, the faster you'll find a product. Now, I would tell myself that just because a niche has got some sellers that have got higher review counts, it certainly shouldn't rule it out. If there are 5 to 6 or more plus sellers that have got under 400, 300 reviews, and they're generating a substantial amount of revenue, just because there's some big sellers, it doesn't mean to say it's a no-go. It shows that new listings have penetrated into the market, probably recently, they've differentiated, and they're performing. Bear that in mind. Understand these different data points, the fees, what do they mean? Take these with a pinch of salt with Helium 10. You always want to clarify and confirm these yourself through the FBA calculator and other means as well. But you're able to so quickly think of a product. We could type in, let's just type in shelves, right? So we'll type shelf. I'll look at shelf. You can see here lots of different things. That's quite a broad term. You might have, a wooden shelf. We'll make it a little bit more specific, a longer tail keyword. And let's have a look of a product that we can see here, and we can quickly analyze that data. What's the total revenue for that niche per month? And what are the individual products doing? Number one, do not ignore this data when you're making your decisions. Is it the be all end all? No, but I would rather go for a product that I'm making data-driven decisions behind than something that I'm passionate about that doesn't sell and doesn't have demand. We know that this product has got demand, 2,500 sales per month for this listing at $15.99. So, £37,000 a month in revenue for this particular product. Wooden shelves. Now, this has got a high review count. That's something that you need to be factoring in, bearing in mind. Are there other listings with lower review counts here that are still generating good revenue? So we can have a look here. Review count 171, so a lot lower. And we've got £6,000 in revenue, 6,700. Listings that have got 154 reviews, generating 2.1k. Check it out and use this software. Second thing I would tell myself, something I didn't do enough when I first started, was having a look at the negative reviews with a product. So clicking on a listing, going into the reviews and seeing what areas can be improved upon. When you're new to this might be something you completely overlook, but we can look specifically at 1-star reviews and have a look at what the issues are. So this one looked particularly cheap. Issue with it being small. Bought a few months ago, the planks were cracked. Now, what you'll tend to find is when you read over review over review over review, you'll see patterns emerging of what's wrong with these products. So once you've potentially decided on a product, I talked to you about adding value to that product and being able to make improvements to it. A great way to be able to make improvements to a particular product is by having a look at what what are the people saying? What are the people saying that are buying it? Because you can read the listing and it'll be, talking about all the amazing things that this product offers, but it might not be reality. They're obviously marketing this product and they're trying to make it sound as good as it can, but the real gems are in the negative reviews from the product. Now, what you can do then is take that information to a supplier and ask them to make these improvements, so when you launch, you don't have those negative reviews and you can highlight these improvements in the product listing. Now, another thing that's very hard to get a grip of when you're first getting started, but that is very important to consider at the beginning when you're launching a product, is how many units should you order? You need to be bearing in mind the average units sold for those types of products through what you're looking at through Helium 10. You can see exactly how many units are sold for a particular product per month. And you can have an idea of when your product is selling, how many you're going to sell in your first few months. Now, from that, you can work out how long your stock is going to last and when you're going to need to reorder. Have you got the cash flow to reorder? It's such a common mistake to order too little, go out of stock too quickly, or order too many and be sitting on dead stock because you haven't done the proper research into the average volume of sales for new listings that have launched onto the platform beforehand, before launching that product. So that's something that it's easy to overlook when you get started, and I would certainly emphasize and invite you to focus some of your time and energy onto inventory management and looking at really carefully at how many units you should be ordering based on the data that you are seeing from Helium 10, which is a trusted source. Now, in addition to this, looking at this listing, when I first got started, I actually did a lot of my own imagery. I used my iPhone. I would edit some of the images myself, and I got reasonably good at it. But it became quite apparent quite quickly to me that although you can, unless you're a professional, if you're just average amateur, you're trying to do it, you can cut corners and you can try to have the best images possible through the work you've done. But ultimately, you need to have absolutely mind-blowing images. They need to be perfect. And people say you can't get things perfect. Images you can. And if you use the right people on Fiverr, which is a platform where you can hire freelancers to take photos and edit your photos, create infographics for you, contextual shots like this, for example, you need to be utilizing that. And something I would tell myself back then was to stop trying to do everything yourself and outsource the areas that are vital to the success of a product like your imagery, and make sure that you invest money into these things that it's a one-off payment. It's not something that you're going to have to constantly do for a listing more and more and more images. It's something you just do once and you get it right, and that is it. So I would definitely focus a lot of attention on imagery and making sure that you get that right. Now, in addition to this, when I launched, another mistake that I made was not having a good enough understanding of advertising. Now, I hadn't done any specific advertising courses. I have since then. You gain a lot of insight into how it works, but at the beginning I didn't know that, but I was still trying to do it all myself. So my suggestion would be, again, outsourcing your advertising unless you're very clued up in that area and you have done a good course on advertising, or as part of a larger course, or you have a mentor, someone who has got good material of how to run your ads. So those would be some of the key points, guys, that I would tell myself if I was getting started today. If you're just starting, note those things down, bring them forward with you in your Amazon journey, and make sure you don't overlook any of them, because I promise you that they will help you massively. Any questions, drop them in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.